we're privately capitalized. So there is no money that we ever take from traders that touches the actual trading.
Is it worth their time to dive into dark pools? Are dark pools taking advantage of people? Do they need to understand this more in order to be a profitable trader? So will you take a trader who has a track record, or will you take a trader who has made their own money or made money with another prop firm and already start them big? Or do you really want most people to come in small? People love the numbers, Adam. How many days are they trading per year? Are they trading all the time, every day? Anything that stands out between your winners and your losers?
If you're removing liquidity, you're paying. If you're adding liquidity, then you get paid. So you can actually get paid to bring shares to and from the market, which is another avenue that most people haven't considered. So I was doing 3,000 to 4,000 individual trades per day.
Wow.
Manually.
Wow.
And I was moving probably about 4 million shares a day is what I was doing.
Wow.
So
finally somebody gets my pain. They get why I'm staring at this screen and going crazy. Yeah, so it feels good to find that community.
It's worth it.
It's great advice.
100%.
What's up, traders? Welcome back to the Day Trading Show. Today, I'm sitting down with Adam from Zimtra. Some of you maybe don't know what Zimtra is. This is a real deal prop firm. This is an opportunity for some of you that you may not have ever heard of before. So give me the hour, be open-minded. I think you're going to love it. Big shout out to Adam for making this happen and to Zimtra for allowing us to do this. Also, a big shout out to our sponsors. As always, there's going to be links for everything we talk about down in the description. Now enjoy my podcast with Adam from Zimtra. Saves you a fuck ton of money, bro. This podcast wouldn't be possible without Top One Trader. If you're looking to get funded and trade CFDs, check out the link in the description. I've also got a discount code that's going to save you 40% on your next challenge, maybe a little bit more. The code is ASFX. Use the link, check it out, and good luck in getting funded. And thank you to Top One for sponsoring the episode. What's up, traders? Welcome back to the podcast. I got a very special guest in the building. Adam from Zimtra is here. Adam, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing exceptionally well. It's a beautiful day here in the Cayman Islands. And
what's the temperature there?
It's hot. You're going to want Fahrenheit, and I'm only going to give you Celsius. I'm sorry. It's probably about 29 Celsius, 30 Celsius. It's 30.
That's 80
year round, man.
Yeah, so it's like
the only
70,
thing that
Fahrenheit.
changes is the humidity.
It goes Why? When does it get more humid?
Summer, the rainy season. From say June to November, it goes from enjoyable to unbearable very, very quickly.
Yep. And that's when you get out and you come north, you come to Florida and you try to break out a little bit less humidity in Florida. Right.
Exactly.
No, but this time of the year, it's probably beautiful down there because we were chilly yesterday, bro. We were 40 or 50 Fahrenheit here yesterday in Florida, but now it's getting back up into the 80s. So
we're jeans and t-shirts right now, which is enjoyable. Nice, cool holiday breeze.
It's my winter holiday vest here. You see, I'm buttoned up for the cold. But I'm really looking forward to having you on, man. This is good. Long time coming. So for everybody listening, Adam and I, we met, what was it, about a month, maybe 2 months ago in LA.
2 months ago?
For the Conscious Trading Academy. Shout out to Sam and David. Loved that. Great event. Be there next year for sure. I'm sure I'll see you there again, Adam. And we just really hit it off. Like you and I think, got along really well. Unfortunately, you were sick. That was kind of shitty. And you had to cut out early, but it was really good to.
It's the Beard Brothers. That's what it is.
It definitely is, bro. It definitely is. But I'm really excited to introduce Zimtra and yourself to my audience because I think this could be a great opportunity. You know, the space changes every day, right? Whether it's prop firms in general or just, finance online in general, making money online, really everything, all these opportunities. There's so many new ways every year, I feel like. So I'm really excited to just get a little bit of a background on Zimtra, hear about how you guys have cracked onto the scene. I know a little bit about the background from what you told me, which was you guys were really on the institutional side first. And I think that always leads to some very interesting stories for my retail guys, because most of my audience is retail day traders. So before we get into Zimtra, let's talk about you a little bit, Adam. How'd you get linked up with Zimtra? What were you doing before? And then could you tell everybody like what your job is? I know you're keeper of the keys, but maybe if you want to give them some clarity on what you do.
I started trading actually back in 2003, 2004. I actually came from the restaurant management industry, and I was, if you've ever heard me speak, I'm generally, I usually talk about how I was analyzing my life at the time and thinking the outcome. If I'm a finish line guy, what does the outcome look like? And if it's an outcome that I'm not happy with, then why is it that I'm doing everything I can and being tenacious and dragging it, kicking and screaming. Uh, so I wanted to make sure when I started analyzing my future opportunities that there was something that was exciting for me. So when I looked at restaurant management, I said if I have the best location, the best food, the best chefs, the best produce, everything is perfect. What's the bottom line? And it was something I wasn't very excited about. So I had read about trading in Profit Magazine, and I used that same analysis on trading. And I thought, if I'm part of the best trading community, if I have the best uh, technology, the best news, the best execution, the best locates, the best rates, if all that lines up, what is the bottom line? And I think we're all excited about this industry because there is vertically unlimited potential if all these things line up and you find your edge. And obviously, there's many factors, but all things considered, that was an outcome I was far more excited about. So six days later, I was out of the restaurant management industry, and I was a full-time trader. I lost money every month, every day for 4 months. And at the time, there was something brand new that nobody was trading. It was dark pools. And I remember going into at the time, the company that was financing my trading. I said, I want to focus on this new opportunity. I've been losing money for 4 months, and I'm going to give myself one more month, or I'm moving on. And they said, well, it's actually good that you brought that up because we were going to give you one more month, and we were going to get rid of you.
Perfect
So
timing.
yeah, perfect timing. It was everybody. So we were aligned going into this goal. That was the important part. So, man, the first day I got run over. So dark pools. This was the inception of the dark pools. We were trading with a route called Millennium back 2004. And it was completely, there's the lit market and the dark market. You and I could probably have a whole other podcast about that. But this is essentially institutional buyers and sellers that have, and at the time they were very dumb algorithms, but let's say an iceberg buy or an iceberg sell order that were just, they had locked the book essentially, but nobody had access to it. So you were still, if you were on the lit market, you're putting in bids and offers and not getting filled. But if you had access to this dark pool, then you could find liquidity, pull liquidity off the open market and give it to these algos at a cost basis that is
Interesting.
favorable for you. So the first day I got run over, and it was one of those. I knew there was an opportunity, but something is there, and I know something is there. It's we're constantly looking for inconsistencies in the market, something that can give you an edge. If everybody's doing it, it's very hard to make money. But if you can find an edge, then the sky's the limit. So day two, I made back my loss, and then every 2 days, I doubled my daily profit for like 2 months. So
That's awesome.
once I figured it out, and once I really got into a good routine, it was quite lucrative. I ended up I did that for about 4 years, 5 years, about 4 years, and then I started teaching. In there, I was also teaching people this strategy, and helping quite a few traders get to 6 and 7 figure incomes, um, trading dark pools. So uh, when I first grew a large group of traders, the company that financed me, um, I now run that company. So I am the managing
Interesting.
director of Zimtra. So originally a Canadian-based company, and I was living in Canada when I learned to trade. I had interviewed a number of companies in the prop space, and we'll get into the difference of a prop and a broker, but essentially trading the house's money. So I was looking for a group that was incredibly well capitalized, and I joined that group, and I was a trader, and they were providing me with the infrastructure and the capital, etc. And then I became a group manager. And in 2012, when the company wanted to open up, at the time, 2012, probably about 60-70% of our business was outside of Canada. So it made sense to look for somewhere that was a little more tax savvy for a formally Canadian entity. So in 2012, I came on as mine in management and moved down to Cayman Islands, and I've been here ever since. So when we first came to Cayman Islands, it was under the name of the Prop Trading Group, for marketing purposes and a number of other positive reasons. We decided to we restructured as a fund, a regulated Cayman fund in 2017. And Zimtra was established as the asset management, and they took over the old structure from the prop trading group. So
Wow.
we've been doing this for 20 years.
Under the
If not
radar,
more.
really, to the retail side. Like that's why I think, and
Yeah.
especially knowing the rebrand happened in 2017, that's why maybe
Yeah.
Zimtra is still building up the retail reputation because the name is different, but the structure is the same, really, is what you're saying. It's been in place and this model has been working. And the model being
Yeah.
prop firm, just so everyone is very clear, correct? And we're going to talk about the difference between prop and brokerage, but that's what you guys are on the
Correct.
equity side. And that when you say trading dark pools, you're trading equities, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So we'll go back to that because I
Strictly
want to
US
go into that a
equities.
little bit. So it's an equity thing where Zimtra is the prop firm funding traders, giving them capital to trade with, correct?
Correct. Somebody
Okay.
who has a proven strategy that wants to grow their strategy, they can keep doing what they want to do in their other accounts. But if there isn't a saturation point in your strategy, it makes sense to look for a company like ours to provide the capital that allows you to grow your strategy exponentially. And yes, we are a for-profit company, but the amount that you give up versus what you save is, and we'll get into that, is a staggering difference. It's definitely worthwhile talking to a prop firm.
Definitely. And I think that's very
Yeah.
common now, especially with all these, they call themselves prop firms, but they're really funding companies with the sim trading. And I'd like to get your input on that too later in the podcast. But before we leave the dark pool thing, because that I would love to have, maybe
Drag me
that's the
back into
podcast.
that.
Yeah, we got to dim the lights a little, grab a cigar, and then we can do the dark pool thing. But for everybody
Yeah.
like myself that doesn't really know a lot about dark pools, that's before my time. I heard about them in Michael Lewis's book. Like I've read about all the underpinnings of what's going on that retail doesn't know about. Can you kind of give an idea of what the lit versus the dark market is, really?
Yeah. It's the best way I can describe it is I think we all know that Wall Street has historically been an exclusionary. So you can almost see that change when small order execution SOs came out, and the average investor now had direct market access. You kind of have this oligarchy in the U.S. markets that say, we need to still find a way in order to transact between each other, but to again, and I'm oversimplifying it, but that was just my view at the time. They always try to find a way to change the rules, so you have to adapt and you have to change. But the dark pools are just that. They're ATSs, so or ECNs that are communicating, but you don't see the liquidity on the time and sales, right? So you would see a print, every time there's a share that's going, a share that's traded that goes on the time and sales, but you're not seeing that order. So if you're
Until
sitting
it's
there,
filled.
correct, you're sitting on the bid, and you see sells coming in, but you don't know why you're not getting filled, right? A lot of times the print you're not interacting with that liquidity, and the majority of the time it's you have to have access to that route, right? These are all communication networks. If you're just trading New York NASDAQ, or you're using these over the shelf destinations, then you're not interacting with that flow. So some of
Interesting.
them back in the day, some of them had some crazy names. Somewhere, like one was called Gorilla, and there was one that was called like Purple Sparrow or something. They all had the strangest names.
And how would you
But
access the routes? Quick 10-second thank you to Edgeful for being the sponsor of today's video. If you're looking for a new edge in markets, in Forex, in stocks, in crypto, or in futures, check out Edgeful. There's a link in the description. And now let's get back to the video.
Your provider. So if your broker has it, or your prop firm would have to have established that
Got it.
relationship with that
Got it.
venue. In our case, we use Links. Links, they're, I think, one of their absolute best in the industry as far as routing. I think they're one of the largest as well. But they have access through them. We have access to 150 plus routes.
That's my question next is, are the routes as competitive now as they used to be?
In which way?
Meaning
Price?
back in the
I
day,
think so. Yeah.
I would say like back in the day there were less routes, harder access to the routes. Now there's maybe with internet everywhere, there's more routes and more ease of access to the routes would be my thought.
Yeah, there's been some consolidation over, we keep seeing new routes created, and then there's consolidation. But some of them are becoming more efficient.
Right.
It's a constant battle between um, cost and liquidity, right? So there's also inverse routes. If somebody's used to the bid ask or maker taker market, then you have a situation where if you're removing liquidity, you're paying. If you're adding liquidity, then you get paid. So you can actually get paid to bring shares to and from the market, which is another avenue that most people haven't considered. They're just used to entering a trade and not thinking of the economics. Well, if you look at your P&L statement and you're spending a couple $100 to a couple thousand to, I mean, there's guys that work with us that have a couple $1 million in execution fees. That becomes a profit center. If you can find a route that allows you to get the liquidity that you need, but it pays you if your strategy you're adding a lot, then that's an opportunity. There's some inverse routes where you'd get paid to remove, right? So
Interesting. Do you have to
you
own
could
those
put it,
shares already in order to get paid to remove?
not at all. No, so
Interesting.
you can buy or sell either way. But
Interesting.
if you're completing an order, right? If you're hitting
Yeah.
the bid or you're hitting the ask, you
Yeah.
could get paid
Is that what it's
for
called to
removing.
make a market in a way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
market
Yeah,
makers are
because
doing
you're
that. They're
making the
sitting
other
on
side
both
of that deal.
sides.
Right. Someone's got to see the other side of the deal. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
and
interesting.
that's for
Are
adding liquidity. That's you're essentially acting like a market maker
like
at
yeah, yeah.
volume, of course.
Right, right. Are you still like are people still well maybe I should say it like this. Are people is it worth their time to dive into dark pools? Are dark pools taking advantage of people? Do they need to understand this more in order to be a profitable trader? Or is it not as important to understand as it maybe used to present a big opportunity? People wanted to seize it back then. Maybe it's just not as big now. Like, how should we see dark pools today?
Yeah, and dark pools might give you access to liquidity that you may not otherwise have.
Got it.
Sometimes you can even find things at midpoint, right? You could find midpoint. You could find shaves where you're accessing liquidity in a more cost advantageous way. Um, the uh, the dark pools have changed considerably, as you said. Flash boys, you were referring to flash boys. What we were trading back in the early 2000s essentially became what as high frequency trading now today, but we
Right.
were doing it manually. Um, and there was, again, consolidation there where you had these big players that were not looking for large moves. And there was a couple takeaways in that book that I don't, unless you were in there and live and understood, that nobody really picked up on. But the big one was them figuring out the ping time between every major bank. So no two places on Earth has the same light speed, distance
Right.
traveled. So they knew that it was J.P. Morgan versus Bob trading in
That's
his mom's
crazy.
basement.
That's
So
crazy.
knowing that, they knew that they could probably arbitrage 5,000 share lots until that order is exhausted. So
In nanoseconds,
in, yeah, micro to
microseconds,
milliseconds
whatever they talk about. Yeah.
co-location, where you're talking the speed of light, you're down to now, all things considered, if everybody's algos are optimized, then now it just comes down to the distance between you and the actual execution, and those micro to milliseconds, they may mean every second. So the strategy has changed once HFT really came in and became prevalent. The strategy that we were trading was not as viable. There are still opportunities in that space, but it's nowhere near where it was. right?
Right.
But I mean, a new generation, we're in a new market. There's so many cycles that come and go, and you got to have your head on a swivel. You got to look for these inconsistencies. You got to ask the questions. I see this. I see this print. Why didn't I get those shares? Right? Ask the question. Figure out. Speak to your broker. Speak to your prop firm. Figure out how you can get access to those venues potentially. But finding your edge, I was fortunate. I found my edge, and I had a very successful trading career. And now that when they say those that can't do teach, so I did the teaching, and then now I'm in the corporate side. So
But
I'm
don't you think that's such
uniquely
a
positioned.
that saying doesn't apply here? I think some of the best traders are the best teachers. And I think people actually become better traders as they teach because they talk through their ideas more, they go over trades more, you're spending more hours. That's going to make you better, in my opinion.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I'd agree with you as well.
Yeah. So okay, that's really, really good background. Why do you think prop firms specifically are appealing and a good opportunity to traders today going into 2025? Why would a trader trade with Zimtra rather than trade their own capital?
Yeah, I think the number one. It's hard. Sometimes I say the number one is cost. It's working with a prop firm. You get access to lower rates, right? Like we do billions of shares on a monthly basis, so we qualify for the lowest rates on the street. So you can leverage that, right? So uh, we have the capital is a big one. Cash flow. Cash flow is another one that I think is super important that I don't think anybody really considers when you're trying to grow your portfolio using your own cash. You have a very hard time pulling money out, especially when you need it, because
Absolutely.
you have a profitable month, but you want to keep rolling that
It's your
forward. So
buying
you end
power.
up
You
in a
can't pull your buying power out. Right.
100%. So um, working with a prop firm allows you to eat your cake and have it too, where you can pull money out on a regular basis, and as long as you're profitable, it's in depending on the structure of the prop firm, it's in their best interest to continue to give you access to more capital,
Of course.
maybe with or without having to increase any risk capital that you have up as collateral.
Yeah. And I think
So
that's a big one too. People look at that and they say, oh, I can actually get access to more size for less personal risk. So I like that you touch on the
yeah,
cost aspect of it because how often do we see people get into trading and they don't even care about the costs? They don't even think about the cost. They're not thinking about it like a business.
you
So that is
you need
definitely
to,
one of the, you need to because the cost will eat you alive. That's how these brokerages have gotten rich over the last, what,
for
40
sure.
years, right?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So what
And
is the
and
difference between
the
brokerage and
free the
prop?
free the free
Yeah.
model, the free
Yeah.
model, if you don't know where your broker's making money, then they're
And
they're
it's you.
making it,
Right.
then it's
If you
you.
don't know who
Yeah.
the idiot in the room is, then it's you, right? Same thing.
And we know now, and it's come to light, the free models that were out there, somebody is still making money on that. And as usual, it's the average investor. You dangle free in front of somebody and it seems incredibly lucrative. But having great cost, but knowing what those costs are up front, in our experience, is a much better way to go. We do have access to free routes that some people, despite what we say, nothing is free. They still want that free route. They're getting the liquidity they want. They're paying what they want. It works for their strategy, and we want to support that. So we certainly have it, but it's very important to understand where the firm that's supporting you, whether it's a broker or a prop firm,
Support
earns their.
coming from a broker is very different, I feel like, than support coming from a prop firm. Wouldn't you agree, or do you disagree? Do you see it similarly? Because I feel like a prop firm usually would care more about the success of the traders and touch base with them, has risk managers in place. If I put 5 grand into TD Ameritrade, they're not calling me when I'm at 3,500 in drawdown or they'll take the 5,000 happily and not
Yeah,
ever call. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, it's a numbers game. We're dealing with a big bank versus a small credit union. You're going to find the same kind of comparison,
Exactly.
right?
It's true.
Um, with I mean, there's some prop firms I'm sure that are out there that don't have um, the focus on support that we have. So I'm sure there's people that are in either space that are getting bad service, but thankfully that's not something people have to worry about with us. So
Talk to me about that for a second. I mean, I
Yeah,
remember from the LA thing, one of the things you spoke about a lot was the customer support being the difference between Zimtra and all of your competition. Because there's a lot of prop firms that do what you guys do in the equity space, not just in
sure.
the States, but internationally. There's many, many people that are in this space. So what was the thought? Like, we're going to make customer service our differentiating point. Not to skip too far ahead in the story here, but I think it's important to touch on.
And it's all it's inches, right? Support is one aspect of it, and I'll certainly give you kind of our mantra on that. But it's also then finding great rates and coming up with systems to reduce costs on say locates,
Sure.
and constantly adapting on our end to create several points in which we are dominating or we are leading the space or least trying to compete in certain aspects with
Yeah.
support. And the best way to explain is early 2012, I started traveling around, and we as a company, we had a focus where we thought we were going to put our energy and our efforts and the systems that we were going to create and what we were going to do. When I was traveling around, I was speaking to traders, and I always asked the same question. I said, if I gave you lower commissions, if I gave you a higher percent payout, or I gave you better support, what would you choose? And and I was shocked. Every single person said better support. They said lowering my fees isn't gonna change too much. I make a couple extra $100 if I have more profit split, but if I'm in a bad situation and I can't get out of a trade because technology issues happen from, there's hundreds of people that are involved from trading desk to trading floor. So, NASDAQ could go down if you don't have the response that you need in a timely fashion. That $50 loss is now 500 is now a $5,000 loss. So, we really understood that was such a important thing for us, and it did become what separates us from anybody else. And we're constantly growing the team. And on our team meetings, I'll say to them, okay, you are the eyes and ears here. If you're not, what our expectations are as far as our response times. If you're not hitting those, then you need to let me know so we can hire more people. So like we're hiring a lot of people right now, which is positive, but it's because we want to maintain that level of support that we know is critical to traders' success.
And it goes into that whole thing of people buy people, they don't buy product. If they know they can call the same customer support team, they're getting Jeffrey or whoever every time they call, basically, that's going to make them really confident. You're probably seeing a much higher retention as support staff is hired. Traders are not leaving the firm as quickly, I'm sure, because they feel like hey, I'm taken care of here. It doesn't matter if I'm going to
Valued.
make another 10% on my payout split or whatever. It
Yeah,
matters that I know the guys that are going to help me,
for sure.
Yeah.
And then that we genuinely care. It's also trust, right? We can, we're not a broker, and we live in Cayman Islands, and you said you want to discuss that, but
Yeah.
historically, Cayman Islands has had a stigma. I mean, it's one of the largest financial meccas in the world. 70+% of the world's hedge funds are domiciled here in Cayman Islands.
That's crazy.
But despite that, I mean, the U.S. media and pretty much every movie you watch, somebody hid their money in the Cayman Islands,
Yep.
which just isn't a thing. It takes 3 months to open up a bank account here,
That's why they put
and
it in the movie. So we would
I
think
know
that, right? And it's the
exactly.
exact
Yeah,
opposite
yeah,
of that.
it's the exact opposite.
That's
Um,
crazy.
so trust wise, if somebody's going to a broker, a U.S. broker dealer, then there's certain security that they have in opening up. The thought of moving offshore is often a barrier of entrance for some people. But I've always found that when you message somebody, you pick up the phone and you call, and somebody answers the phone consistently, and you're getting, even if I don't have the answer today, I say, oh no, but I'm going to go back and get it for you. Then you're creating that trust, and the more trust and the understanding that people have, then they're confident they're going to be with growing with us. So we
100%.
we are we are niche to a certain extent, but that's the kind of high touch service that we think has always been missing in the industry. And thankfully, our board and our team and everybody really bought into that. So
It's true. It's definitely
it's
true.
it's helped us.
Because that's what people feel. People feel these brokerages, these prop firms, they're out to take my money. They're out to create an opportunity. And if you want to seize it, there's partners and people in this industry that will actually give you that opportunity. And it's just, there's always bad actors. And then that leaves people with a sour taste. Before we leave Cayman Islands, though, biggest
Yeah.
pro and biggest con of living in the Caymans full time.
Ooh.
Don't tell me
Biggest
you missed the
pro.
snow, Mr. Canada. Don't tell me
I
you
do
missed the snow.
not. You are not going to
No,
hear that from me. It's snow by
no.
choice, and I do not choose.
Uh,
Um, I'd say that the best is, we live in a high-paced, stressful industry. Uh, the market closes 4 o'clock if you're trading U.S. equities. Being able to, within 10 minutes, being on the beach and watch the sun come down is pretty appealing.
Good pro.
Uh,
Good pro.
yeah,
Biggest con.
good pro.
Hey traders, Futures 101 is available for free right now. There's a link in the description. Click down below, check that out, and now enjoy the rest of this video.
Biggest con. I'm I love it here. It's paradise here in Cayman, so it's hard to find a con. Access. That's there isn't really nightlife. If you're looking to go out and party, this is not the island for that. It's a very family oriented, very safe community. And I mean, there's only 70,000 people that live here. It's
That's
20,
crazy.
24 miles, not what I know, 24 miles at its widest point. So you have it's a tight knit community.
I was just
So
going to say that. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So that is I guess that falls into the pro column. But yeah, nightlife, going out, it's nice. I mean, Miami, you get island fever. It's a real thing.
For sure. And you know what the thing about the Caribbean in general is you can be anywhere pretty quickly. You're 2.5 hours from Tampa. You're what? An hour from Cancun. You could be
Yeah,
in Dallas if you wanted to in 3 hours, probably or less. So it's like you could
yeah,
basically be in any other nightlife city if you wanted to. So that's the biggest con. It seems very appealing. I told you I'm coming to
yeah,
Cayman. I'm going to
yeah.
see
You
it.
you,
Is
you
it
gotta
is it
come.
Grand Cayman or Grand Cayman? How do they say it?
It's it's Grand Cayman.
Okay.
Uh, but if you're just saying Cayman,
You
it's
get a little more island with it, man.
right. It's Cayman Islands or Grand Cayman. Yeah,
Got it. All right. That's tricky, but that's good. All right, cool. So that's good on the geography part. And I think, you know, the most recent story to your point about like people bad mouthing the Caribbean for finances was Sam Bankman Fried,
yeah,
right? Like that
yeah.
was the big one. But I think there's probably an entire podcast that we could do about the benefits of running the company from the Cayman versus Canada. God damn, Canada would probably be tough, bro. Regulation, taxes, they're up your ass. It's probably way different where you are, right?
In Cayman, there's no corporate tax, there's no income tax. It's tax neutral. So it's not that it's a tax haven. It's just they have zero. The tax rate is zero. The government makes some money off duty and tariffs. So everything that we bring in, and there's no manufacturing here, everything is there's a duty on everything we bring in, ranging, I think it's from 22 to 40%.
Wow.
So they are making the money, and anytime there's home sales, uh, they're making, depending on the area, I think it's between 7.5% and 8% on what they call a stamp duty. So there's a lot of, especially during COVID, this was the place in the world to be. And there was a lot of high net worth individuals that bought places sight unseen in Cayman Islands and did their 2 week quarantine there. And then we were completely open, right? We shut the borders, so it's a lot easier to control an island of 70,000 people. So it was truly a wonderful place to be during
That's
COVID lockdowns.
perfect.
So
That's
yeah,
perfect. Do you find
so
that
that
people are
yeah.
coming to see you guys there and trade? Like, do you have a floor there to trade, or is it just staff that are working there?
Yeah, we don't do any of the trading here. This is support and admin are done here.
Got
The
it.
high level risk management stuff is done in Cayman as well. We have support staff. By The majority of the support staff are originally in Ukraine. Many of them have moved to other cities now, but we started hiring a lot of people in Ukraine to really try to support them, and
That's
and
awesome.
and there's a lot of people that highly educated people that were losing their jobs. So
Right.
it was a win-win situation. We're now, with our expansion into LATAM and Spanish-speaking communities, we're starting hiring people in Colombia, for example.
Nice.
to help us with that aspect
I know
of the
that's where you
business.
guys are going to boom next in the Spanish speaking community because I seen you in Mexico. I seen you with the guys. Like you're getting in the mix there. Is that where you guys see a lot of growth potential? Like, is the prop firm stuff not been really tapped on there and them as much as it has been in the States?
Yeah, and you asked the question earlier, our origin, why we're now more retail, or we have a retail offering. Um, that was mainly because there was so many countries that we weren't in. We have been
Mhm.
There's been about 50, 60 groups that we've been supporting for the last decade, all across the world. Largely across the 18 countries, is what we were supporting through large groups of, 200-300 traders, in each floor, right? So
Wow.
uh, we had, the execution, we had the capital, we had the fees, and we had the infrastructure in place to support these groups that were out there, essentially white labeling what we had created. In speaking with guys like yourself and some of the other uh, educators that you're familiar with, there was a gap in what they were doing. They wanted to grow their business, and they wanted to give more traders access to the U.S. market, but unless they were going through a broker dealer and putting up 30 grand in capital,
There's no
it was
option.
very cost prohibitive. So working very closely with them, and that's where we are nimble, and I say niche, but um, we were able to create a product that was exciting for the average retail investor, or I'd say intermediate. It's not retail, because retail's, a couple trades a month and you're buying
Right.
and holding for a while.
On
We're
Robinhood
looking
on your
for
phone or something like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're looking for active traders, but the barrier of entrance, we put a minimum $1,000, so you can open an account with $1,000, and it's not a deposit. It is simply, it's first loss. If you want to be able to lose $500, then we'd say, listen, put up $1,000. If you get down to $500, we'll ask you to top back up. But I don't know you, you don't know me. You have to have some skin in the game. So there isn't a direct correlation. People like ratios, so we'd say, listen, you depending on which plan you pick, we'll give you 4-to-1 or 10-to-1. But because we're a prop firm and you're trading our capital, we could give you whatever we wanted, or whatever it deemed that was worthwhile. We have some traders that have been with us for 10, 15 years that have access to 20 to 30 uh, times what they might be owed at any one
Right. Because
period
they're
of time.
making you money.
Yeah, we're a volume based business. So
Right.
if you're doing volume, we want to keep helping you grow.
Of course.
Yeah,
So since you mentioned some numbers there for the listeners that are still maybe doing, let's say, I would say most of my listeners are doing some form of prop trading when it comes to these simulated funding companies that I know you're familiar with. And I don't really want to linger on them too much because I want to talk more about Zimtra, but that model of let's pay to get access to capital. And then if
yeah,
you fail, you have to pay again to keep going is not the same model that you guys have, where you want to grow with a trader and you want to really see that person prove to you over time that they know how to trade. So will you take a trader who has a track record, or will you take a trader who has made their own money or made money with another prop firm and already start them big? Or do you really want most people to come in small? So could you answer that and then maybe give me a story of like, this is Joe. He came in and started with $5,000 and this is what he did. Like just so someone could see an average thing.
yeah. Um, and there's good actors and bad actors in the space. We all know that, and
Yeah.
and I caution everybody to their homework. I don't speak ill of anybody doing the challenge. I think it's
Yep.
referred to as the
Yep.
challenge model.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we took a hard look at it, and it wasn't for us. It wasn't the way that we wanted to go. Uh, I know some success stories from that and that model, and I know some on both sides of the
On the trader
discussion,
side and the
on
business
the
side.
trader
Yes.
side and the
Yep.
business side. Well, the business,
Yep.
the business in those cases, they tend to do okay, but it is still important to have skin in the game, right? So that the pay to play model, we're privately capitalized, right? All the trades that a trader is making is going through our account, right? They
Okay.
go to the street, everybody goes to the street in the same name. And our fund where all the trading happens, is independently capitalized. So there is no money that we ever take from traders that touches the actual trading. It is literally saying, I don't know you, you don't know me. Put up a little bit of money, and if you're profitable, we can grow you. If you're not, then we've both at least risked what we're willing to risk. Because if somebody gives me $1,000 and I give them $10,000, the risk is heavily
Way heavy on your side. Yeah, of course.
not in my favor.
No,
But we have very sophisticated risk management software, and that's really what allows that to happen. We can be granular down to the number of shares that you can have in one direction and one symbol. You can't have, I think it's 20, more than 20% in any one symbol at one time. Stop loss, daily stop loss, and then total stop loss. If we give somebody $100 stop loss and they get to a 50% drawdown, so somebody puts up $1,000, they lose $100. They're just for the day. The account isn't close and cancel, so they can't put out any new orders. If they got to that 50% drawdown, so now they have $500, there would be a liquidation event, right? And the trader could top up and start trading again, but it is strictly pay to play.
do you find that the traders are surprised when you do that? So you take their initial money. Hey, this is how it's going to work. You're going to give us some money. We're going to give you access to, small amount of capital to see if we can grow something. Do you find that they're very surprised when they go into a live account with you guys and it's got live market conditions? Or is it any different for them usually from what they were doing in the past? Like if they were trading equities on their own, do they find that you guys are faster, better fills, better spreads, or worse?
Right. And I would say, and understanding your question now, it depending on where they're coming from. If they were trading at TD Waterhouse, or they're trading at IB, they're great products, but we're giving you direct market access, and you're measuring speed of execution differently than you would be in something like that. And it's real time. So I think people are more inclined to trade more in a environment like this than less. That's for
sure. Okay. So then give me the example. Let's say I'm coming to you, Adam, and I'm saying, I'm going to start with $5,000. I want to see what we can do. What does that look like for that guy? What kind of restrictions are on his account? Does he have to be out of the trades at the end of the day? Can he swing trade? How many trades can he take? Can you just give us like a little lay of the land of an example?
Yeah, sure. So with 5,000 up, and again, if anybody goes to Zimtra.com, all this is laid out in a ton of detail. And that's the big thing to your other question: are people surprised or shocked? If you give people the information they need up front and they know that they're getting into, then it makes it a lot easier for everybody down the road.
For sure.
But the big one would be a 50% drawdown. So if they lost 2,500 of the 5,000, there would be a liquidation event, and trading would be abated until the account is open, or the account balance is restored. Up. So yeah.
And then what about on the upside? He turns 5,000 into 10,000 in the first 2 months. Do you say, hey, we're going to give you another 10? Let's get you to 20.
We certainly can. Yeah, it'll be a conversation as far as are they putting in more risk, or if we owe somebody from the previous month and they're holding it, we can give them access to exponentially more capital if that's what they want to do. And for some strategies, there's people that are using their own capital for, say $1 million of capital, and then we'd offer them a deal to say, listen, we'll take on more risk, we'll pay you out a little less, but we can grow this. Is there a saturation point? Can you trade with $10 million? Can you trade with $20 million?
Because certain strategies you can't do too big; they won't work. Definitely.
Yeah, and smaller volume symbols, the bigger your account, the harder there's going to be more slippage. So all those things become a factor.
So do you find ever people come in because they're not putting the money in their own account, and then they start to do well, and then they say, let me give you, do they give you more to then you say, hey, I'll take 10 from you and give you 50 in the account? Is that typically something like that? Not exactly those numbers, but is that how it works? Because they're not directly depositing this money into the account. You have access to that.
I don't know if I'm understanding the question.
Okay. So I'm saying, like, I'm Joe. I come in because I want, I would make this real for the listener. Joe has $5,000. He starts with Zimtra. Zimtra says, we're going to give you the $2,500 drawdown. We're going to get it going here. We'll see how it goes. He ends up turning 5 to 10. He says, Adam, I'm going to give you another 10. Now we'll get me to 20. How much will you match me? Will you guys then have that independent? There's no set structure on how much more you'll top him up with. It depends on his metrics of his trading. Is that the answer to this?
The two
To
I
see
think
the
there's actually
match. Okay.
three options on our website, which is I think cat like 1-to-1 essentially. There's 4-to-1. Again, it's not leverage, but people like to say, well, if I'm giving you X, you're giving me Y.
Sure.
Um, so there's a 4-to-1 that pays out 100% payout, and then there's a 10-to-1 that pays out 90%. Uh, in either of those models, if somebody is paying to play, so they start with 5,000, they grow that to 10,000, we will apply that multiple, no question asked, based on the parameters of that again
That
people
makes
can find on
sense.
the website. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are quite a few situations, especially when it's part of say a group, um, that we will ask an individual, would you like to have access to now 10 million of our money? And instead of getting 90% payout, maybe you get 80% payout. So you don't have to put up any more money, but we now have a belief in that strategy, or you've had success over the course of the time you've been trading with us, that we have a track record that we can say, okay, we're willing to put a little bit more risk here, but it's always risk reward. So
No, that's well said.
um,
And that's the
yeah,
inverse of the challenge model companies. The challenge model is you pay more, you get more capital. With you guys, it's if you actually prove to us you can trade because this is real market, then we'll give you more
yeah,
money. So it's a much more alignment with the old school prop model, the traditional prop firm thing, which,
for sure,
has been
for sure.
successful for many, many years. So excuse my naivete with this one, but I know there's somebody thinking it. Why would I come in and start with 1,000 or 5,000 when you're talking in millions? You guys are talking in a million in big numbers. If I come in with 5 grand, Adam, I can only buy 2, 3 shares of Nvidia right now. How am I going to grow my account? Am I right in thinking that someone's going to say that, and you're going to say to them, either you're going to want to trade a smaller stock that you could trade more shares of, or you're going to want to put more money in account. You're probably not at the level that we're really looking for. What do you say to that?
Yeah, and this is a new avenue of our business, right? We're used to dealing with large groups that have do
Millions.
millions, if not billions of shares. So it is a relatively we've been this product's been out there now for about a year. Um, but what we're the fundamentals are always going to be the same. If you're somebody trading a couple shares on Nvidia versus something that's a sub a couple 100,000 on a penny stock, you're still, hopefully your strategy is still profitable. Yes, being a volume based business, uh, we would love to see people doing larger volume, but we realize that not everybody enters at that. That's the other support aspect. We know people are going to trade more. We know that the strategies are going to change. That a trader that's with us today, day one, trading Nvidia, they might come across another strategy that allows them to grow exponentially, and we want to
Absolutely.
be part. We want to be there for them, so that when they are ready to grow and the opportunities that presents itself, then we both win.
That's a good answer. That was well said. Um, That's a really good also explanation of how you guys can succeed alongside the trader, which is what I think a lot of people are looking for. They're looking to be with a firm that they can grow with for a long time because, as you said, there's good actors and bad actors in this space. And the bad actors make people question, why would I even try this prop thing? I'll just do my own money. But like we said at the
Yeah.
beginning, costs and risk reward is a really great opportunity that has not always been there. Like even in the old school prop model that like you guys are kind of following, it's not always been there. So I especially find that it's really good for new traders to actually try, whether it's the challenge model or your model. I think it helps new traders reduce their risk. So could you speak to some of the new traders on what you guys are seeing work really well for your most successful guys? Maybe even how many, any metric. People love the numbers, Adam. How many days are they trading per year? Are they trading all the time, every day? Anything that stands out between your winners and your losers, or more from your guys that are constantly having to re up the account? Can you give guys any like, don't do this, or do this, don't do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'll be completely honest with over 5,000 traders. We don't get involved in the strategies themselves
Got it.
directly.
Got it.
I can tell you, generally speaking, um, those that either trade as part of a trading community, and have great mentors like yourself, they will consistently do better than somebody that is trading on their own. Nobody, not just in trading, but nobody does it on their own, right? There, you have to being part of a team, because today you might have a strategy. You might be the person that's constant, that's helping and moving those people forward. But there come a time that your strategy may potentially change, and you're now going to be able to lean on that community and come up with the next best idea,
Yeah.
because the market is constantly changing. So working as part of a group, and that's over the last 20 years and me in this industry, the number one difference between success and failure in mine is the community that you're a part of.
That's a really good answer. It's actually an answer that's been touched on by other guests, but never been. This is my number one. I think it's everything, right? Like you got to make sure you're around smart people. You got to make sure, that's the, if you're the smartest guy in the room, get in a new room. That's really what it is. So I think
Yeah.
that that's very well said. Going forward from Zimtra, what does 2025, 2026 look like? Are you going to be branching out into new models? Are there new customers that will be accepted? Anything exciting coming that we can look forward to?
Yeah, we're always looking to um, be more cost effective. Things like, for example, locate locate providers. We realized that's a whole conversation for
I know we
another
didn't touch on
podcast
that
for
today.
sure. Yeah, it is. We saw that there was a big gap in the market, and what we spent 2 years and a couple $100,000 developing, working with our providers, identifying the problem, and working with really smart people in order to solve that problem. And now we have, in my opinion, and based on what everybody says, we have the best locates on the street, and we constantly look to do things more like that. New venues, right? We can always be more efficient. We've just released, I said, the Z Pro route. We have another one for higher volume traders. It's called Z-Reb, which is a rebate route. And we released Z Pro, and about a month later, we released Z-Reb. And the feedback from one trader said I think it was two game changing announcements in 1 month. And them being out there and testing those routes and seeing how it can benefit their strategy, those are the things that we are going to continue to do more of. Look at getting AI involved in our business, and how can we utilize AI in order
That's a
to
whole
make.
conversation right there, man. My
For
brother-in-law
sure.
got me on the chat
Sure.
GPT talking to it. I named it Jeffrey and now I'm talking to it and
Nice.
it's telling, and I gave it in, it's amazing. It's
Yeah,
scary how good it's going to be. So it's good that to hear that you guys are trying to get ahead of that, start using it now, because five
for
years from
sure.
now, someone's
For
just
sure.
going to be starting it and you guys will be way ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and we use AI in some of the things we do as far as support, just to again speed and
Of course.
efficiency,
Of course.
and in routing, like smart order routing, and creating new destinations that are intelligently. Currently, it's based on an algorithm, right? We
Right.
have developers. We work with Links, who has developers
Mhm.
that are essentially, in speaking with some of our traders, they'll say, well, the liquidity is great, but I need it to go here, there, and everywhere. And they're writing those manually. When you start applying now AI to things like order execution, that becomes very, very exciting, because again, there's hundreds of ways that an order can go to an exchange, right? Go to the actual trading floor. So it is an exciting time, and we're always wanting to be that person that's pushing the envelope and coming up with solutions to complex problems that ultimately benefit our traders. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting many years to come, not just 2025, but we're thrilled to be in the space, and as long as we've fortunately never had a problem. So
Do you ever miss coaching traders? Because it sounds like you love what you do now. Do you ever miss getting in the mix with the guys
yeah,
on the
and
floor a little bit and rubbing elbows
for
and
sure.
yeah,
Trading for sure, and being on the floor, and there was, back to the dark pools, all the algorithms. Once we figured out, there was 30, 40, 50 different algorithms that were out there, and we named them all. So you're on the floor and you come across one of these algos that is loose in the market, and hollering out to the floor and anybody else trading that strategy. The excitement level of that, running. I was doing 3,000 to 4,000 individual trades per day manually.
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
moving probably about 4 million shares a day is what I was doing.
Wow.
So you are literally, you're sprinting to the bathroom, you're eating lunch one bite at a time over the
I
course
told
of
everybody,
six
bro,
and a half
we need to make a catheter for traders. That's
hours.
like, that would sell, bro.
A
That would
hundred
sell.
percent. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would, nobody would discuss it, but it would
No, no, no.
sell.
We'd all have it, but nobody would know about it. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah. So
I
it's,
figured that you
I
missed it a
miss
little
that.
bit. Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit.
And
The
the teaching
competitiveness of that.
teaching as well, seeing somebody have that aha moment. uh you can, the saying I always like is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And you can tell
Mm.
somebody every single day for months the exact same thing, and then suddenly one day you say it and they go, why didn't you say that 3 months ago? And you say, I have been saying it, it's just you weren't listening. Your mind wasn't in that process. So having, being there to see that aha moment unfold when somebody gets it, or they start reaching critical mass in their trading strategy, incredibly rewarding,
It
and
is.
and just
That's where
such a
I'm at right now. We
great
just had a
missing.
guy take a
Yeah.
$30,000 payout before him 2 months before, a $40,000 payout from another guy. So like when you see that for
Amazing.
people, it is life changing for some of these guys. You know what I mean? So
Life changing for
life
sure.
changing. And then like
Yeah.
it's really cool because I never thought I'd see it like this, but now you give somebody that, all of a sudden it kicks down this door of like trading to them. And they're like, oh my God, there's so many different ways. Like with you guys, that's why I was excited to have you on, because it opens a whole new door for people that are like, oh, I just got a prop firm payout. Now what? Trade your own money, go to a real prop firm like Zimtra. Like there's so many more things now that you've gotten
Yeah.
this first thing out of the way, you know?
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And stay hungry.
And stay hungry. That's the whole
Yeah.
thing with this, right? Right. I mean, you do a good job, it sounds like, of finding balance in your life with the stress of finance. I mean, finance in general is a stressful career, like you said, but balance is so
Yeah.
important, right? Like we were just talking about that before, like the heart attacks everybody hears about in this industry. It's tough. So you got to find time to balance. Got
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Strong mind, strong body.
Strong mind,
Definitely
strong body.
find the time. And I said I'm on a bit of a health kick right now, but we all go through struggles. Priorities, right?
Yeah.
The one thing we all have in common is we have the same 24 hours in a day, right? How you choose to spend those 24 hours, that's completely selfish. That's up to you. It's your decision on how to spend that time. Prioritizing health, I wish more people would say, yeah, okay, I'm going to have to get up an extra 30 minutes earlier, but if that's the only time that I can guarantee to go out and do a push-up, then so be it. But it could just be finding time to go speak to a nutritionist,
That's it.
prioritizing prioritizing that time to put health and wellness. He worked his made got sick working hard, and then made a lot of money, but then had to use that money to get
That's the
himself well.
cliche story, right?
Yeah.
It's not where
Yeah.
we want to be. Yeah. And especially
No.
nowadays
No.
with so much information on the internet, you know what I'm saying? Between they got all these biohacking things, sauna, cold plunge, you know what I'm saying? The whole thing. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we have no excuses anymore, you know?
For sure. And talk. We talked on that privately, but people need to talk more. Where that's why another reason why being part of a community is important, because only another trader is going to understand the challenges that you're going through. You can be at
It's so
family
true.
family dinner and trying to describe trading. Everybody just thinks it's, you're throwing
That was
darts
the joke in our
blindfolded on a
room this
wall.
morning. You're literally right. Because
Yeah.
we were like, oh, everybody, I said that on stream. I was like, everybody, listen, you're going to go to Thanksgiving on Thursday. Trade
Yeah.
really well this week so you don't have to go to Thanksgiving dinner and tell your mom you blew another trading account. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
so because
Exactly.
that's how they see
Yeah.
it. But you're right. When you get traders together, like we did it in LA, what happens? They fucking stay out till 2 in the morning, loving each other like they're best friends and they
Yeah.
just met for the first time. It's
It's a,
crazy.
it's a support group.
It is. It is. Finally, somebody
Yeah.
gets my pain. They get why I'm staring at this screen and going crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it feels good to
But
find that
it's
community. You're
worth it.
right. It's great
A
advice.
hundred
Great
percent.
advice.
Hundred
All
percent.
right. So where are we sending everybody, Adam? We're gonna have a link in the description. We're gonna get
Yeah.
everybody involved in Zimtra. Do we have any socials that we want to send them to, or just send them to the
We're
website?
we're yeah, Zimtra.com, but we're Zimtra Trading. We're at Zimtra Trading on everything. So
Yep.
we kept it pretty simple, but you can find all that on Zimtra.com as well. Zimtra, Zimtra.com. And yeah, please connect. We'd love to help more traders, and we truly believe this is the best opportunity out there. Sometimes people always say it's the best kept secret, but we might not have been great at getting the word out there, but we're trying to let people know that there are alternatives. It's that are worth trying, and start small based on your comfort level, and grow it.
I'm super
As you're
bullish on you
seeing
guys because
success.
I
Well,
think you
thanks.
guys are going to pull a lot of market share from traditional brokerage. I've been saying that for a year and two now. I think this model is going to, especially from the younger generation, we're not going to just do the traditional brokerage. We're going to want to speculate because of these opportunities where the risk is so low and the reward is so high, like you said at the beginning, vertical. So it's like, yeah, great opportunity. So everybody listening, thank you for staying all the way through, first of all. Adam kept it very entertaining, very engaging, which makes it easy. Great talker, great storyteller. But we want you guys to check it out. So links will be down in the description. I think, Adam, we're going to need a part two. Guys, if you want to know more about the dark pools, if you want to know more about the locates, I think those are two areas we didn't touch on, right? We could talk more about even shorting equities with you guys. I know that's very doable and stuff because the locates are so good. So guys, this is not just long or short. This is both. So there's still a lot to uncover here with Zimtra. So Adam, we're probably going to need a part two, but that's okay. We like each other, so that's good.
Hopefully people ask lots of questions, and we
Yes,
can cherry pick some ones that based on relevance, or that people are excited about. I'd love to spend
100%.
whatever time I can helping.
Appreciate it, man. Adam, thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Listeners, thank you
We'll
guys
see
for
you in
staying.
Cayman.
Yes, I said, that's what I was going to say. Maybe part two will be in Cayman, and that'll be great. So for now, everybody, we'll put a pin in it. Make sure you guys are subscribed, and we'll see you in the next episode.